Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for smashing that subscribe button. It's helped so much. Follow us on your favorite podcast provider. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us at Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everyone's favorite TikTok, as well as Reddit. Check us out there, join the conversation, and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider, please.
Maybe Threads one day. I don't know.
One day.
Use Threads.
I think it's dead already.
What? Oh, didn't even get. I got one post in. I got one post. Hello, Threads. We got Bomber talk. We got CFL talk. Let's get right into it. We got our hot topics, but we got a huge game this week. Winnipeg Blue Bombers against the BC Lions at IG Field. Battle for first place in the West. What needs to be done for the Bombers to win? What do you expect to see happen? Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, they got to avenge that 32-6 loss. And again, that game was at home as well. So another shot at it at home for the Bombers. So that offense has to click. The O-line has to recover from that last game. 7 sacks that game. It needs to add enough protection for Claros. I think the run game is going to need to kick off early in this game and not be a fourth quarter. Oliveira goes for 100 yards in that game. Run game early to kind of relieve that pressure because BC's coming at it hard. Matthew Betts, what is he at? 10 sacks, I think, leading the league right now. So get that run game going, get that offense in a bit of a rhythm, and try to slow down that pass rush.
Yeah. The last time the Lions beat the Elks, before this last time, it was a shutout as well. And as well, they proceeded to play the Bombers the next week. And also on a short week. So similar conditions to a 36 game. But like you said, the offensive line, they have to have the game of their lives. And that running game has to start early. They can't wait for the second half to try and establish the running game. Like they have to get yards before contact to around 2.5 to 3 yards. So we know that Oliveira is getting to the second level and he's getting those holes. And they, I know I said this a million times, and I'm going to say it a million times more. They've got to use that heavy set. They've got to slow this game down. Don't get me wrong. If they start balling and throw it in the air and scoring and it's a track meet that they're winning, sure, go ahead. But I'm talking about in comparison to last game and what's going on with BC. They got to play that heavy set and they got to tire out that BC D line. They got to allow the O line to tee off and hit them on running plays. Sure, they might not score as much, and they're just slowing down the pace and really get BC off of their game because they're a fast flying defense.
Yeah,
they're playing high speed, and the Bombers just got to slow that down, beat them up, punch them in the face. Let them think twice about what's happening, and hopefully the O line can dominate them that way. Because yeah, you're right, 7 sacks can't happen again.
No, and the Bombers are pretty much healthy on offense at this point, right? I'm sure some guys have nicks and bruises and stuff, but everyone's there. The O-line's there. You got Lawler back, Dalton Schoen. So you got to get those guys involved as well early. And BC's D has been crazy this year. I know two shutouts against the Elks definitely helps, but they've only given up 94 points. Only 253 total yards of offense and 214 in the air. So that is crazy. I mean, that's is probably better than what the Bombers were doing a couple seasons ago. Off the top of my head, maybe not, but and on the other side of the ball, Bombers have to get to Dane Evans. Dane Evans is a turnover machine, or at least he has been for the last few seasons. Yes, he had a very good game last week, but again, it was the Elks. They have to get to him. They have to throw him off his game. They've got a bunch of sacks. Willie Jefferson, like we said, he's second in sacks at 8. He's got to get that pressure. Jeffcoat's got to get there, and they got to throw Dane Evans off that game because Dominic Rhymes is back too, and that BC offense has been ticking pretty good. So throw Dane Evans off his game. We've seen that happen to him quite a bit over the last few years, and then you could have a different story, and maybe it won't be a crazy. Your offense doesn't have to play catch up at this point.
Over the last few years, though, Dane Evans hasn't had the same caliber of team that he has around him in BC. This is a dominant O-line, and this is a good receiving core. So, and when Dane Evans had Hamilton playing at its best, he was a great quarterback. Like he whooped the Bombers one game, like 45 something. And
that was last year, even
50. My goodness, yeah.
That was last year when Hamilton was bad.
So that's the thing. When he has a good offense around, like this is a different team. And I think this is a different Dane Evans. And like they definitely do have to get pressure on him. Don't let him get into rhythm. Because I think he passed for like 77% last week. And if the Bombers can't get to him like they did last game, they will be in trouble. He'll pick them apart because I haven't seen anything from Richie Hall this year that breeds confidence in me believing that they can stop Dane Evans if he gets on fire.
Yeah, one of the things they've done well, 25 sacks, 7 interceptions, and 5 fumbles so far from that D. They've given up a ton of yards, though, as we've watched them. They've gotten better over the last few weeks, but they haven't necessarily played an offense like BC's coming in. So I like Vernon Adams. Last time they played, he got out of the pocket here and there, made some runs when he really needed to. So that's one thing Dane Evans probably is not going to do or can do, really. So that D-line has to have a great game, and that secondary, when the D-line can't get there, has to step up.
VA didn't really have to use his mobility as much as usual, though. The last
No,
game they
not at all. But
he was
when
able
it was
to
there,
sit in the pocket, and make those easy throws, because he's not the most accurate QB, but he sure looked like it against the Bombers last time they played.
Oh, they did. It was all BC that game. There's no question about that.
I mentioned Richie Hall, and last week I mentioned coverage, and the coverage looking the same every play, and him having to switch it up. Do you think the addition of Winston Rose will help allow that secondary to gel? Will it bring that experience in, or will it maybe be a little jolt and a little more time to gel as a secondary?
Yeah, it just, you got a guy coming in his first game of the season. What are we, week 9 right now, right? Bombers are 5-2 bye week. Yeah. So, it's going to be a bit for him to get acclimatized to the game a bit more. So I don't know if it's going to, come back roses to say in this game for him, because it'll be a little bit tough. He's got to get the rust off. Same with Kyrie Wilson. Great to have him back.
Yeah.
But how's this first game going to go? And it's against a tough offense, and some great receivers there in BC as well, right? And Mizell, running back, has played very well so far, taking advantage of his opportunities. So Rose will help, but I'm not sure he'll be up to 100% in this game.
We'll see. And also special teams needs to be a factor. Like, we know that McRae can definitely return the ball. When the ball is in his hands, he can be a threat from anywhere on the field. So I don't know if it's blocking. Obviously, I don't have access to tape, or that much tape where I can look at the schemes of their special teams or whatever, but they got to find a way to break McRae out.
Yeah, it helps
with the field at least. It doesn't have to be a touchdown, but at least flip the field and get good field position.
Yeah, it helps to have this bye week because it lets him get used to the blocking in front of him, right? Because really, with Janarian Grant there, who actually sat back there and practiced besides Grant on these runs and got all the formations and the blocking patterns all down. So hopefully with that bye week, it helps. The punting game too for the Bombers needs to be a bit better. It's been hit and miss, and a lot of miss lately with Jamison Sheehan in his first season. So like you say, field position is going to be huge in this game. So if you can flip that field on, say, even a return, even if it doesn't lead to a touchdown, or a great punt that flips the field, the Bombers are going to need that in this game. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a great one. I'm looking forward to it, though.
And the thing with McRae is, we've seen before, for him to warm up, they got to get the ball in his hands. They got to feed this guy the ball, like through running and then through receiving, getting the ball at least 5 times to get him going. At least spread that BC offense wider so they don't know what's going on. That's the thing. Like I mentioned earlier, they're so fast and playing on a different level than any defense in a long time. Maybe Bombers 2019 or whatever. It's crazy. Don't forget Nick Dembski. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. You can finish off.
Nick Dembski. That's all I gotta say. He had a great game. 4 for, what was it? 115. Get into the end zone, but he's got to get a little more of those runs, a little more short catches to really get BC off their game. Again, just another factor. Where's this guy going to be? So they can't really pin their ears back and play high-speed football.
And that's where the O-line comes into play, man, because if they're not blocking or giving Clarles time to find all these weapons, it's not going to be a very good game for the Bomber offense. They need these guys. They got the receivers, right? We got a great bunch of receivers. One of our conversations in the offseason was this receiving core going to be one of the best, right, of all time? So far, it's kind of there. They got lots of yards, but it hasn't been spectacular all around. So this would be a perfect time to now break that out and, throw in some wrinkles there. You had a week to prepare with the bye week. So get ready for it. And McRae did not play the first game with these guys, right? Against these guys, right? I think he came in after that. Did he not, or no?
Yeah, well, definitely he wasn't playing special teams that game.
Right, and then Dembski, because he only came out because Dembski ended up having a baby or going into labor there, right? And then he's been,
Nick Dempsey didn't go to labor, but
Yes, yeah.
well,
everyone knew what I meant, I hope.
Any more factors or anything we haven't mentioned yet about the Bombers that you think will tilt the game or make BC actually even factors that almost guarantee BC a win? Like they have a very good defense. That defensive line has not been proven to be stoppable.
No.
And man, the Bombers again. That's a benefit of playing that heavy set, having that extra line. I'm sorry. I'll stop mentioning about the heavy set this week.
This is a big game because BC wins. You now got a 2-game lead. You've won the season series, right? It's going to be hard for the Bombers to recover and win first in the West, right? Especially with that loss to Ottawa there a few weeks ago by the Bombers. So this is a big game. I know it's early in the season and anything can happen, but it's a big game in terms of the standings and where the Bombers hope to end up by the end of the season.
And it lines them up nicely for a sweep because they got to go into BC.
Yeah, exactly.
They got beaten.
Yeah.
Oh, Bomber fans, put your thoughts in the comments below. BC fans, put your comments in the thoughts in the comment section below. Critical questions for each team going into week 9. We're going to go from west to east and back and forth. Let's start with BC. Which Dane Evans will show up against the Bombers? Not really much to explain here. He's been up and down. I think, like I mentioned before, this is probably the best team that he's been surrounded with. But we know that he hasn't been very good in the big games against the Bombers, and they've kind of figured him out, but he's seen a lot of the Bombers. So maybe it's advantage Evans this week. I don't know, but we'll see which one shows up.
Yeah, they got to get at him, hit him early, and throw him off his game.
Yeah.
Hamilton. Oh, boy. What were they thinking with that QB sneak last week? I know the reasoning was we were close to the end zone. We had to get some yardage, but then put your backup in.
That's what they're there for.
That's what the second, third stringers are for. You see a lot of teams put their short yardage guy in these situations. So if you want to sneak, put your backup in. It wasn't a great game by Hamilton all around. Anyways, Bo Levi still 5 interceptions in that game. So Hamilton, too many questions still there. I don't think they've even turned a corner yet.
No. Oh no. Let's go with Edmonton and the Jarius Jackson effect. How does this change the Elks? I don't think this will necessarily be a positive thing. It's the same offense. McAdoo will still be in the facility, although in the defensive side of things, I guess. But he was a QB coach there. He was in the room. He was the one grooming Cornelius and Ford and whoever whatnot. So I don't see how this really changes things. I don't see how this changes the dynamic in the room. So I don't think the Jarius Jackson effect will be. I think it'll be minimal at best.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to do a lot to change that season around for the Elks. Ottawa Redblacks. How do you get 5 interceptions in one game and lose? That just blows my mind. 5 interceptions. Bo Levi just threw that ball up for you guys left and right. They dropped the ball last week, Ottawa. They had a very good chance to kind of put Hamilton out of it and move up into second by themselves. But terrible display. Crum fell back to earth a bit.
Yeah. We'll talk about Crum in a bit. Calgary Stampeders. I don't think they have much of a chance to beat Toronto on a full week's practice. So the question is, can they beat them on one practice? No, I don't think so. No. I get it that Toronto's traveling. They had to go to Halifax, and now they're going all the way to Calgary, but they're already in that groove. They're kind of road warrior mentality that is there already. Meanwhile, Calgary has one practice to get prepared for the best team in the league. No, they cannot beat Toronto with one practice. Even though AI, practice, talking about practice.
Exactly.
Not AI. Alan Iverson, we're talking about
the
practice.
Original AI.
Exactly. Practice, talking about practice. Are you kidding? So yeah, I don't think so.
Speaking of Toronto, how long can they go undefeated? Like you say, they got the Stamps coming up. Redblacks, Stamps, Ticats, Owls twice, Ticats, Winnipeg. They could get up to Winnipeg at least, and probably even at this point beat Winnipeg, but that might be their first real tough matchup. And I know some of them, the Owls played them tough last time and all that, but Toronto has a good chance to run the board a little bit here. And they don't play BC again.
No, Labor Day is going to be pretty smooth, you think?
Oh, yeah. Another question is, why are they playing the Ticats and the Redblacks 4 times? Like, what the heck is with this schedule? BC, Winnipeg once, and Hamilton and the Redblacks 4 times each. Like,
the schedule makers are ridiculous. It's nonsensical. Jeez. It makes no sense, which I guess is nonsensical. Oh my goodness. So you know what? Toronto might be 7-0. That'd be the first time ever in 149 years that they've been 7-0.
That's crazy to think that, eh? Like
Yeah,
in all
shout
those
out.
years, you know, and even with the with all the great teams they had, the quarterbacks with Flutie, all that kind of stuff, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Didn't what's his name? David Sanchez say like the last great team in Toronto was 91. Like, well, you don't sleep on 97 with Flutie
wow,
and
yeah,
Drummond.
yeah.
You know, double shout out to my cousin Larry, the history guru. You know, he's the one who mentioned a couple of these CFL things to me about Toronto. So shout out to him.
Right on.
Saskatchewan Roughriders, my turn, right?
Yep.
Who should be the starting QB? Like, leave Mason Fine in. Give the kid a chance. Let's see what happens. He just played. Who did he play against? Toronto and BC. The
Yeah.
last two games.
Yeah.
Just let him. Let's see what happens. Come on, Saskatchewan. Like, if you put what's his Dolagal in, you're just seeing what happens anyways. So at least you know Dolagal's there. Give the guy a chance. He's playing at least not necessarily an easier team, but give him a chance to grow. See what happens. The tools are there, I think.
Yeah, for sure. You got to give this guy time, especially in a blowout. Let him go until he's in. Toronto's actually D is not even the greatest out there. Really, they've given up a lot. So
True.
But we'll see. We'll see. Montreal, can they go on a little run here? They got the Ticats, Saskatchewan, Redblacks, and then they face the Bombers again. So there's 3 very winnable games for Montreal if they can kind of keep Standback getting it going. Keep Fajardo upright. They did a pretty good job against Calgary.
They did.
They can position themselves well for that second or third spot. It doesn't look like there's going to be a crossover from the West this year. So
we'll see. Lots of season left.
Yeah, there is. Labor Day hasn't hit yet.
That's when things get interesting.
It's coming already.
You know what I'm saying? Winnipeg Blue Bombers question. Can Buck Pierce figure out the BC Lions? When they played them, it looks like Ryan Phillips knew exactly what he was doing. And it looked like, I don't know, either they didn't make any adjustments at halftime or none of the adjustments worked because Ryan Phillips had figured the Bombers out. And, you know, it might be because Couture was there and he may give it a little info, whatever, but I think it's larger than that. So he's got to figure out how to, again, like we said before, how to protect Zach Caleros.
It's
7
funny.
sacks is ridiculous. Like, look, if Caleros gets sacked more than 4 times, the Bombers lose.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially against this D, because then you're pushing at that point, and that's when you start to make mistakes.
For sure.
Even in that last game, like it kind of was telling just even that, well, not the Bomber offense altogether, but that last drive before half where Winnipeg had just gotten a field goal and BC scored. It was just like, you know, it was like one of those things, and you're watching going, this is not the same Bombers. So, and you mentioned Couture in the plays. Maybe the Bombers took it as, you know, he knew the plays, but that doesn't help them very much. And maybe they realized maybe it did. I don't know, because there was something there. Like you said, they were all over that Bomber offense.
Wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up. Critical questions. Let's hear your thoughts on those fans. Not on those fans. Fans, let's hear your, you know what I'm saying? Comment section.
I get you.
Sankey got his release. Where do you think is the best landing spot and why?
I'm going to go with Saskatchewan. Just because that D is actually not too bad. And I think having a decent D could help propel them into that third spot in the West, because right now it seems, you know, it's going to be a battle with them and the Stampeders. Plus, he knows that D. He's been there before. I think he'd fit right back in seamlessly.
Where else has Sankey been in the CFL?
A few places, hasn't he? I can't name them off the top of my head.
Was he in Calgary?
Could have been.
Go there. Go to Calgary. They have a decent defense kind of now, but they really need some help against the run. And he might bring some culture back into that room that left with Dennis and Bo Levi Mitchell, a veteran, just a presence in the room. So I think Calgary might be a good spot for him to land. Thoughts on expansion talk post-touchdown Atlantic. Stop with the Halifax talk already. If the government does not support a venue or facility being built, it's not going to happen and it won't be successful long-term. So stop it. Find another Windsor, Ontario, whatever it is, Quebec City, move on. Because Halifax is a great location for touchdown Atlantic. I don't think it's the 10th team. I'm sorry. It's not.
The thing is, they almost need to get another team or another place involved, because right now there's no sense of urgency. Halifax is not an urgent, because it's like we can keep waiting and kind of play this out and see what happens. But if you get, so like you said, Windsor or Quebec City into this, maybe then Halifax or something, some other place goes, okay, this is very serious now. Let's get into it and let's get that team before the other team gets it. Because after 10, the CFL is not expanding for a while. And who knows? There's probably not many places that are crawling all over each other to get a CFL team. But they got to find that sense of urgency and stop talking about this. Either it's gonna get done in Halifax or it's done in Halifax.
Absolutely. I talked about this idea like eons ago in regards to Ray and Betty Talk Sports, but I think they should still really consider a regional team. Get the different governments in the East Coast to maybe have 2 or 3 decent facilities where it can be a traveling team.
Yeah.
Play there 1 year and other people can travel. It's not far to travel. Like maybe that, or just never mind.
Wasn't Major League Baseball going to do that with the Rays and Montreal? Wasn't this announced a few seasons ago or whatever, a few years ago?
That would have been cool.
Yeah, it never ended up happening, obviously, but
no. Where are you placing Andrew Harris on your list of all-time running backs? Passport be damned.
He's in the top 5 for me, for sure. Well, I went back and forth on this. It's tough. To me, Charles Roberts was a great running back. Charles Roberts never really took care of himself. And if he did, he probably would have been even better than he was. One thing he didn't do was, win a Grey Cup. Whereas Harris has won them. And Harris hasn't just been a passenger on those teams. He basically propelled his teams, maybe not last year with the Argos as much, but the other ones to help them win those Grey Cups. And he's right around the same yardage as him. I'd probably put Harris in that top 5 and bump Charles Roberts out of there, but he's probably number 5 for me.
Oh, Harris is better than Charles Roberts for sure.
Yeah.
And there are a couple running, but I say Charles Roberts in my top 10. He's about 7 or 8. Like I have Preed, George Reed for sure. Yeah. Sorry, Pringle. Preed.
I was going to say
Pringle. Who's Preed? He's a Pringle Reed hybrid.
It up on the internet. Preed.
Dominant.
I missed one.
Pringle, Reed, Pinball, Leo Lewis, and Andrew Harris.
Yeah,
that's the way it is. Leo Lewis is the greatest Bomber running back of all time.
And you got Johnny Bright in there still too, right?
Oh, for sure. Like so many good running backs.
It is.
But I'm a personal fan of Robert Drummond for running backs. Like he didn't get many yards, but he punished it. And I love his style.
Punisher for sure.
Just like Mike Sellers was fun to watch too.
Oh, Sellers was great.
Ooh, bring him back one more time. Jeez. Is the balance of power shifting from west to east? No, not yet. Not yet. It could very well end this season, but I'm still seeing borderline the top 3, top 4 teams in the CFL minus Toronto are in the West.
I think it's
shifting. Not yet.
I think it's shifting. The Elks are terrible. Stamps and Saskatchewan are both kind of floundering. Like Saskatchewan's only wins this year so far. They beat Edmonton twice and barely in both of them, once by 4 and once by 1. And then they beat the Stamps, right? So they just ended up losing to Toronto. And the Stamps have only beaten Saskatchewan and once to the Redblacks and lost them. So it's not there yet completely. Obviously, like you said, we've said it, long season to go. But right now, to me, I would take Ottawa and Montreal to beat Saskatchewan and Calgary. Right now, there's 3 good teams. I fully expect Toronto to be in the Grey Cup at this point and either playing BC or Winnipeg. Like anything else other than that would shock me. But obviously we've seen anything can happen. 2001, don't want to talk about that too much, but I think it's shifting and it's good to see. At least if it was even East and West, I'm happy with that.
I was thinking like I was really taking a couple notches off Hamilton because Bo Levi Mitchell's playing, but I never took a couple notches off Saskatchewan because Trevor Harris isn't playing, and he's going to be out a little bit long.
Yeah, probably for the whole season, depending.
If not, for sure. So we'll see.
It's good to see. It's good to see.
Yes.
Right? I thought Ottawa, before they beat Winnipeg, we're going to go 0 for a while, right? And they turned it quickly around. Or sorry, they had already win, but not many more wins in that one when they played Winnipeg. But so it's good to see. I like to see it. Hopefully, it keeps up.
I hope so. Just need more quarterbacks.
Yes.
Let's get into the quick and dirty predictions for this week. Let's start off with the Thursday night game. BC, Winnipeg will be there. I'll be there. Sorry. Section 112. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
your plans.
I unfortunately will not be there.
I know you're going to be at that Sea Bears playoff
Yes.
game, but I won't be there. But I'll be at the Bomber game. You got to split duty sometimes. So I don't know why you gave me that look. I'm going to take Bombers by less than a TD in this matchup. I think they'll be well rested, and they got some tape on Evans. They know some stuff on him, and I think it'll be a grinder though. So I'll take Bombers by less than a touchdown in this one.
I'm unfortunately going to go the other way and take BC in a close game. I think BC's D is just going to be too strong and all over that Bomber offense.
Ooh. Who do you got, Toronto and Calgary?
I'm going to end up taking Toronto in this one. Like I said, I think they're going pretty much undefeated till they play Winnipeg. We'll see what they're. But like we said, the Argos D is not great. Jake Meyer can put up the yards, so this is a great opportunity for him to put up a bunch of yards and maybe some points. But we've seen him game in and game out make mistakes that end up costing his team. So
yeah,
Chad Kelly's just been. He wasn't great last week, or didn't have a good game last week, but he's just been fun to watch.
He has the tools to support him if he doesn't have a great game, though. As long as he doesn't make too many mistakes that cost the team.
Yeah.
You know what? I was going Toronto all the way in this one. Calgary with for sure one practice only. But then Larry, the history guru, gave me that stat of Toronto's never ever been 7-0. I'm like, what kind of sense of humor do the CFL gods have in this one? But I think I'll have to go with Toronto going 7-0 for the first time in history on this one. Just too good. Calgary's too unstable still. Montreal Hamilton. I don't think Hamilton has a chance with that backup playing. To be honest with you, it was his second start. Like, I get it. What's his name on Montreal? The Canadian receiver, Julian Grant, is not a go. So the Als might not score as many points, but I just don't think they have a chance, even with Montreal's defense with some injuries. Montreal's going to win it.
Yeah, I'm going to take Montreal as well. Like you say, not good for Hamilton. Taylor Powell starting. Not enough experience yet. And Standback for Montreal has actually gotten better over the last few games. Last time he played Hamilton, he had 7.7 yards per average. So, and Hamilton's D hasn't been great against the run, obviously, with that stat. So I can see the Montreal kind of leaning on that. And Montreal's D has been good. It'll throw fits to Powell. Hey, so Montreal. I'm picking Montreal.
Not many offensive touchdowns still they've allowed.
Yeah.
Ottawa, Saskatchewan. Who do you got in that matchup?
I'm going to take Ottawa. Saskatchewan's reeling. Mason Fine he's been okay. A lot of yardage and stuff like that, but nothing great. Did you know Saskatchewan has not scored a first half touchdown since week 2 against the Bombers? That's how bad that offense has been. So I'm going to take Ottawa in this one.
And worse than Sacks in the league?
Yes.
And Ottawa has a good defense. They have a very good defense. So, no, Mason Fine, I'm sorry. You might lose your job after this one.
Yeah, it's not going to be good for Saskatchewan here. And Craig Dickinson's seat's got to be getting hotter.
No. CFL fans, put your predictions in the comment section or say whatever. Even say hi in the comment section. That's cool too. Let's move on to hot topics. Was Sean Payton out of line for his comments? You go ahead.
Yeah, he sure was. I mean, the gist of it is that Payton blasted Nathaniel Hackett for the Broncos last year and going 4-11. So I've never seen a coach ever do that and kind of rip him. It almost seemed like Payton was kind of setting it up and setting his season up for failure in case it ended up in failure that he could blame it on last season, and he's cleaning up that mess. So
personally, I don't think so. And I don't think that's what the thing was here. I don't think he's starting a scapegoat or anything. I think he's trying to change the culture in the organization that's broken. Was he a bit harsh? Sure. Yes. Maybe he shouldn't have used Hackett's name, whatever, but it's true. The culture needs to change when you're, kowtowing to your quarterback and having his own personal office. The culture is rotten. And of course, it's old school. It's old school. Payton is a Parcells student. This is not a surprise. I don't know what the code is, but I'm fine with it. Feelings might have been hurt, but whatever.
Week 5, they play each other week 5, so that'll be interesting.
I hope the Jets stomp him, though.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Sean Payton. Biggest shock in Women's World Cup so far? Canada, Jamaica and Brazil. I'm Canadian, but whatever. But Brazil is ranked 8th in the world, and Jamaica is 43rd, and they're advancing. The Reggae Girls, shout out to them. Biggest shock in World Cup.
Yeah, and going off of what you were saying, Canada, shocking to me that they didn't even make it out of the first or the round robin here and only scored 2 goals. Had a penalty shot saved against Nigeria. And then you look at it and go Nigeria and even South Africa. Nigeria is 40th and South Africa is 57. So Canada being out and then those two nations going into the knockout stages is a great feat as well.
Are we seeing a changeover in Canada?
Yeah, you almost
is
have
this a
to.
necessary kind of?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some changes for sure. Because I mean, you look at Sinclair, she was 40. Unfortunately, that penalty shot wasn't the greatest. And that's kind of what she's going to end up her World Cup career or almost soccer career on. Unfortunately, but yeah, you need some youth in there, and you need to make those changes because they just did not look good. Scoring 2 goals, he scored 2 goals in 3 games after just winning the Olympics a couple years ago.
That's the thing, Olympic champion too.
Yeah,
and that Brazilian legendary player is also gone from the World Cup. So yeah, thank you for remembering the name because I didn't. And Christine Sinclair out of there. That's crazy.
Yeah. Changing the guard, yeah.
What does the addition of Tarasenko do for the Senators? Well, it replaces hopefully the Brickhead, I guess. We'll see on the power play how much he produces. Not $5 million. Why not for a year? He has to prove himself. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it has a little bit more veteran presence on a pretty young team, right? And Tarasenko has won a Stanley Cup, so he's got that experience as well. So he may not be what he was and going to score 40 goals or anything like that, but he'll definitely help in the leadership department.
Yeah, we'll see, eh? Like they have less than 35,000 in the cap.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
It's time they're making their push, Ottawa, and I hope it works out.
You have a Brickhead?
Yeah, let's go back to the CFL, and I'm going to give it to Orlando Steinhauer or Tommy Condon. I don't know which one who approved it or who called it. I guess Condon probably called to play the rush by Boley by Mitchell, the QB sneak that ended up getting him hurt and now back on the 6-game injured list. So Brickhead to Condon, who probably called it, and Steinhauer kind of let it go. I don't know, but both of them get my Brickhead.
Ridiculous. Like their chances weren't damaged enough. Like... Shout out to Milt. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's wide open in that East too, man. Like, I don't know. Whatever.
Stupidity. Shout out to Milt Stiegel for making the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame. It's kind of long overdue, no?
Oh, yeah. When I saw it today, I was like, what?
Like
I get was already in there.
Like I get giving precedent to Manitoba born athletes, but what he accomplished was crazy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Benny, you have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Just thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget, subscribe, follow, and have a good week.
And in the words of Allen Iverson, practice. No, I won't go there. In the words of Ann Whalen, in the meantime and in between time, that's it. Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports.
All right. NFL training camps going on really early still. Who's your Super Bowl finalist and winner? Off the top of your head. Let's go.
Off the top of my head. Ooh, hopefully Joe Burrow's okay because I'm going with Cincinnati and Cincinnati taking the Super Bowl. I think San Francisco will be in the final again.
Ooh, Brock Purdy, you think he's got enough to lead him there?
No, he almost did if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, too bad he got hurt just to see what would have happened in that game.
Yeah, too bad.
I got no prediction.
What? That's not fair. You put me on this. Put me on the rotisserie, whatever hell, rolling on sizzling over the fire and making a decision. Hurry up on the top of your head. Who do you got?
I'm going back to them because it's got to be time. I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take who else on the other side? I could take the Niners, but that'd be a homerish kind of thing. And I don't know. Let's go with the Eagles making it back in there, but the Bills win the Super Bowl.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.